So today, actually, I was thinking about tell you a bit of one of our customer success stories that we as Columbus have been part of, and also another case which is not related to our company Columbus, but it's more of a generic challenge that you might typically meet when simply dealing with shipment of the customer orders. Okay, so shortly about myself. My name is Adam, and I actually came back to Columbus after being 2.5 years in Novacura. So I'm sort of like a flying boomerang within this environment of people. That's what we do share commonly, obviously, is Novacura Flow. Amazing platform that I don't really have to convince you why to get it, because that's why we are here. Shortly about me. I'm mainly inside the warehouse management logistics with high exposures to extend applications where obviously Novacura is part of it. We are the largest independent Infor M3 alliance partner, but you also do partner with other supplier of applications that we find are a perfect match, and obviously Novacura is one of them. So I will start with the case number 1, which we had a journey with. It's actually a Danish bakery called Coburg. So this is the largest family-owned bakery in Denmark, derived from southern part of Jutland. So if you know the map of Denmark, is pretty much the biggest island on the left, which borders with Germany. So that's in short, like the numbers that typically they do on daily basis. So you can just imagine how much raw materials they consume. So yes, this is a typical, as we coin in M3 world, food and beverage industry customer. So yeah, they are producing bread, let's just make it very simple, all year round. And they have quite a lot of pallets that come out daily from 3 different sites, actually. And the site, which is number 1, Bordeslef, is the headquarters. And they have 2 other facilities in Denmark. Around 450 employees, production orders, up 150 a day. And yeah, there are a lot of quality reportings, obviously, for the reason that they're in the food and beverage sector. Yes, of course, every time when a customer contacts Novacura is typically with a challenge, right? And in their particular case, I personally have not really been part of the project, but my colleagues were. So I just know that before they started to do the right way, they had something which in M3 we call the orderless production. So for those of you that have IFS background, pretty much what it means is that you can simply put stuff to stock without necessarily having an order number and everything that follows up to it. And of course, that works fine. But if you want to have much more control, much more traceability, what's happening, what type of material consumption is, it's better to switch on the right production way, right? And that was the main problem. The main problem was actually that amount of screens, amount of features that they would otherwise have done in a conventional M3 way was so staggering huge that they said, no, we are not going to do it. We have to have some form of tool that allows us to make it faster, easier, and what was one of the most important things for them, user-friendlier. And I see, listening yesterday to Mio, I see a lot of comparisons. And yes, they do probably challenges with F14 button too. It was not as extremely complex, but still, amount of screens and features they have to fill up each and every were so huge that they decided not to go with M3, but do the entire process instead, in Flow instead. So just to briefly show you how typically the process might look like in M3. So there we have something which are called the work centers, which seems to be the familiar phrase also in IFS. So in their case, they want to run entire operations on a higher level, on a planning area, which actually can consist of a couple of different work centers. That's how their business works. That's how they want to do it. So of course, in a standard program, you can't do it. It's just a work center itself, that's it. Most likely there are ways nowadays to do it. But at the time when the project started, the only option was just to have a tool that allowed them to summarize somehow all those work centers together on a planning area instead. So once you have identified your operation, then pretty much what 3 things they needed to do is the following. First of all, they obviously need to identify the operation, and then what we have is just a magical button related options, and then you can see tons of functions and features. Most like 90% of those obviously are not used. But the crucial ones are the report of the operation. So in their case, pretty much to measure the time, how much it take to, for instance, produce a batch or a lot of pallets of simply boxes of bread. Then they have something which is called the put away. So pretty much to report how many of those breads, bakery products came out together with the label and the lot number. And the final thing was the quality inspection. And it was not just the ordinary quality inspection. They use what we in Infor call the reporting elements, PMSO 85. Maybe some of you had a chance to use before. So there they could actually in Infor define the matrix, what type of different quality parameters they were supposed to measure. A very good example, simple one, is the first they want to measure the temperature in which the bread was made. They also wanted to put the signature of an operator that actually was responsible for the entire operation. So, surprise, surprise, we know what to do with the flow, right, with all this. So instead, they decided not to run it, but out of curiosity, they decided to actually measure how much of those reports and how much essentially orders per day per site has to be done in order to perform the task. Then the solution came with the Flow Classic. So yeah, a very simple app. It's just that we put it all together as a very streamlined end-to-end process, one after each other, where user simply can focus on reporting those qualities one after each other instead of jumping between screens and finding the new operations. So that's pretty much how it looks like in a PowerPoint level. So they're choosing the planning area, they're choosing the order, the operation they want to work with, and then basically they report, first of all, the quality. Second of all, that was the total amount of produced together with the units of measure. There's also a list of materials. In their case, when they're reporting an operation, there's a backflash that automatically withdrawn the material consumption. And all this, of course, was put together as a seamless process. What is the most important, and I think the most interesting, is the customer themselves. They made actually the timing, and they decided to give it a try. Okay, so they measured that each and every operational report took from 1 minute 38 seconds up to 5 minutes 6 seconds. All depends, of course, on the APIs and who has done it. So the average time was around 2 minutes per report, which is 11 when you take in the entire order. And the same time has been measured when using Novacura Flow. So now you can see how much less it takes to do the entire process in the flow. They did the math further, they multiply it, and what they got is this, pretty much, on a daily basis. I think that's very impressive. So initially, what they thought that they're gonna use the flow just to allow them to make it that the entire process is simply easier for the users, instead of jumping from the screens to have a seamless flow, it turned out to be, of course, that they also save tons of money and hours a day, and they can utilize it for something else instead. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. And I think the key takeaways from this customer case was, of course, besides doing the reporting of the production the proper way, what they highlighted extremely a lot was the easiness of usage. The clients, the way how they design it, specifically supposed to serve to the people that have absolutely no idea about IT, not to mention ERP systems. They are bakers. They care about the bread. And they want that the tool that they use follow their business, that they don't have to do the other way around. Mobility, flexibility, they run the solution on tablets on their work centers, so they are not bound to specific seats. They have to be mobile, they have to be fast, and react quickly. So that was our case customer story. They're still up and running. They're still happy with the product. Every time we meet in Denmark for a user conference in M3, we had a chance to meet them this year. And then for sure, there will be a very good success customer case that we will distribute much more in the future. The other one that I would like to talk about is, as I mentioned before, not really related to our done, but more of a challenge that we came across here and there from time to time at pretty much any type of manufacturing industry, which is the full pallet picking efficiency. I will use some some form of M3 terminology, so I'll try to make it on a rather high level so everybody's comprehending. So in this particular case, when you do the picking, in M3 there are obviously a bunch of options, but the two most important thing that you need to know is that this particular customer was picking the so-called soft-allocated items. So what that means is basically that when you type in an order, typically a custom order, when you use the soft-allocation, you pretty much decide, okay, this is the quantity that this customer is going to get, without specifying which lot number, which container is going to be. That decision typically is taken by the picker at the later stage of the process. So they are transferring soft allocation to the hard one. And for that purpose, typically they use scanning devices. Yes, once we met this customer, it turned out to be they are using actually already an alternative solution from Infor. This particular picture here derives from a product called FactoryTrack. So that's like, I would say something like similar to what you have in IFS called Vodako. So very online warehouse management extension. So yeah, it comes with a lot of pre-built features, but then when there's a time where you have to think a little bit outside of the box, then this is where the problem starts. So traditionally, how the picking looks like in M3 World is that, first of all, you have to locate your delivery. And once you do it, then you find all type of different pick list lines that you need to pick it up. It could be one in this particular case. I'm not sure if it's visible, but the total quantity is, I think, 1,690, or yeah. So that's enough for pretty much full truck. So far so good. As I said before, when an item is soft allocated, the next step would be typically for a user to find out what type of stock I have available at this point of time. So in FactoryTrack, you can of course browse and look for products and what it is. So far so good. And this is where the problem starts. Once you browse it inside that functionality, there are a couple of things that this customer had to do. First of all, they had to manually provide which location they are at, since they didn't have a barcodes. Second of all, once they start to scan, they unfortunately, for some reason, have to do it twice. So they have to scan which particular balance that's in front of them they want to pick for the order, and then they have to scan it again to confirm it. And it's they were only doing it with that barcode over there. Because another scan was about to use this particular SSCC code, right? So it's this 18 digits serial container number, which makes your pallet kind of unique. So they use this type of number to pretty much assign it to an outbound package for Infor M3 to ship it out and to be present on delivery note. So you can already see how many different scans, how many confirmations at this particular step, when I'm standing literally in front of my pallet, has to be done on FactoryTrack in order to confirm, okay, I'm going to get this pallet, I want to bring over to the dock station, which is, of course, another step which you have to do. And then once you perform it, then the entire thing actually is saved to the databases, it's reported, and guess what? You pretty much have to do all the thing again. And now imagine you have 50 pallets. So he says like, no, I mean, you can't just do it like this, right? It's just ridiculous. I mean, of course, the first 2 or 3 things when you have to identify, it's fine. But it's like, if you know exactly which delivery, which pick list line you want to pick, it's like, why don't you want to just somehow save the data in a client and just somewhere, I don't know, in the middle here, and just like try to consolidate all those pallets together? So that's what we did. There's no AI over here. It's just like, reshuffle, that's it. So it takes a lot of time. So what we decided is it's like, you know what? Okay, yes, identify delivery number, identify the pick list line that you want to pick, try to find where this particular pallet or entire lot is located, then just type in how much quantity you need, and instead focus on pretty much scanning pallet by pallet. So it's sort of like do the reloop and just scan entire row altogether. Ask your friend to do it for you, right? So you just do the scanning. All the other 2 guys probably can just physically take the pallets and move it outside. So we decided in Flow as a concept to show them that instead of like relooping entire API away, we just like only focus on that. And you just like take a scanner and just like shoot, put it on a list and then report it all at once. And nowadays, as you know, in a Flow Connect, there's a very easy option to use the bulk APIs, which allows you that you don't have to do, the loop of, let's say, 50 times of reports of API, but you can do it only once when you have a table as an input. So you can just imagine how faster it could be, for instance, in Flow Connect. So yeah, again, the same story like with our customer case is that sometimes it's just that it's not the matter of the modern technology that's out there in the market. Sometimes it's just there. It's just you have to think outside of the box. That's it. Reshuffle stuff, and that's what I think Novacura Flow is so perfect about. So it's like shortly to summarize what I've been talking about, right? So this is entire flow that you do with traditional conventional methods. And here's where we stop and we sort of like reloop entire skin and grab as many pallets as you wish. There are sometimes forklift trucks that grab 4 pallets at the same time. I've seen ways that, for instance, one person is scanning entire row and 2 others just physically bring it to the dock station. So yeah, this is still ongoing while this guy can enjoy fika. There's so much fika actually, right? So yeah, benefits of summary. Again, fewer manual clicks. That's, I think, one of the interesting things that we typically see when we look at the conventional methods are used. They're always complaining about like, oh, there's so much clicking, there's so much like here and there that we have to do manually, right? So this less of clicks, the better. I always try to highlight it, that the more barcode solution, also better. But you have to also think smart and try to make it that the processes, is done in a way that you don't have to do repeatable steps, unnecessary running the APIs, because that's typically what causes the latency, right? Yeah, and this is just, again, another example how, for instance, a browsing ID, a browsing balance ID could look like. In FactoryTrack, you have just, lines of quantities that are present, right? But here, we additionally, on top of that, we show that, actually you can have an editable column inside a grid, and you can say how much of this entire row that is in front of you you can actually take. So once you decide that, from which location, from which lot number, then it's just about like to scanning the SSCC numbers at the end to pack the containers in the packages. That's it. Oh, I was surprisingly faster than I thought. I don't know how much time I still have left, maybe 7 minutes. So I'm wondering if there are any questions. I guess I don't have to prove to you that you should use Flow as much as possible because it's very obvious. But again, I just wanted to share some nice stories with you and maybe some inspire you to use the Flow.